Hey y'all, it is Jedi Fuka here. Today we got a video for you guys about the legendary champions I've acquired, Errich, Auster, and Ripplicus. I want to go over them, how I have them built, where I have them, where I'm using them at. But before we get into this video, I just have a quick announcement. I would like to talk about something real quick. If you'll please just give me a minute of your time. As some of you may or may not know, this December will be the 20th anniversary of the Boxing Day tsunami. In 2004, the tsunami hit Thailand, Indonesia, India, and Sri Lanka and killed 230,000 people. Now, something you guys do not know about this and why this is very dear to me is that when my wife was 13 years old, she was on the beach in Thailand at Khao Lak when that tsunami hit. She's a survivor of that tsunami. She lost her parents in it. And something very important is going on in our lives right now. So my wife just finished writing a book that she now launched called Surviving a Tsunami at 13. It's a memoir, a first-hand account of her experience when she was on the beach and that tsunami hit, of what happened to her during that and what happened to her after it. And I'm going to leave a link to this in the description of my videos, guys. I just appreciate it if you guys would check this out. At least go look at it. Read the description of it. If you have any friends or family that are into like stories like this, then please share this with them. It's an amazing story. Obviously, I'm extremely biased about it being an amazing story because this is my wife, but truly, this is something that changed my life. Of course, it changed hers, but just hearing her story changed my life. It's had a major impact on my family, and we just launched this book yesterday. So any support we could get, we would really appreciate it. My wife worked very hard on writing this. She's been working on this book for over 15 years, and it's over the last year that she finally just decided that she had to get it done and get it out there. So if you guys could please share this with friends, family, people who are into stories like this, or anyone who just wants to hear a true life story of someone just surviving something so intense. Please go and share this. 230,000 people died during the tsunami. My wife was literally on the beach when it hit, and somehow she amazingly survived it. And anyways, that was just all I wanted to say. We really appreciate any support that we can get from anyone, especially in our communities, from you guys, from our friends and family. It's come a long way to get this out, but that's all I wanted to say on that. We're going to get into today's video. So, for starters, we have Errich here. Now, this guy is the free legendary you get from beating the story. Hopefully in Season 1, you'll still be able to get him. If not, if it's a different champion, I'm sure you'll still be able to pull him. He is wild. He pairs so good with wild champions. So the way I have my Errich set up right now is I have him set up as basically just a boss killer. This dude does my green dragon, my purple dragon. So first, I'm going to go over his skills and tell you why he's such good at killing bosses. We got his passive skill, increase the hero's wild success rate by 5% every time an ally performs a wild check, up to 14 whenever the hero performs successful wild checks. The hero skills deal an additional 70% attack fire damage, all modified off the attack. So this guy just pairs amazing with wild champions. Now, I don't even have other wild champions built to pair him with right now, and he still does massive damage. So put him with wild champions, he's going to do 10 times better than what I have him doing. This A2 here summons this flame pillar under enemies, dealing a 300% attack times fire, and it gains 50% damage bonus if only one enemy is hit. So he is a single target king, does way more damage if he hits a single target. His A3 here, it's also a little bit of an AoE, but you get to target it. Does these 5 meteorite strikes, 150% times attack to random enemies. If you make this hit a single target, you just completely milk them. And then I do have this guy completely scrolled out, as you see here, to tell you guys the importance of scrolls. When I was fighting the purple dragon after I first got him, I was having a hard time beating him. I was barely beating him with Errich. I went and put all my scrolls onto this dude, and I went from barely beating Purple Dragon to just destroying it with plenty of time left, like 2 minutes left plus. So it added tons of damage to him. Now, the way I have him built, I've been using this Executioner set with him to get that extra defense break. I will say that the Gambler set is also amazing on bosses. It may actually be a little bit better, but the stats that I have on these are a lot better than what I have on my Gambler set, so that's why I'm using it. For our artifact here, I picked one that does crit damage. I'm just trying to boost this dude's crit damage as much as I can, as you see here, because I was able to get good crit rates on my gear. So when you guys are building your champions, these legendary gears, they do these 3-piece effects. The way I picked his gear out was that I went in here, I know the stats that I need. So what I did was I wanted some crit rate on my stuff, and then as I went through crit rate, I looked for stuff that also had crit damage. And then my gloves, I did crit damage with the crit rate rolls. And basically I went through all 4 slots. I found the best ones to get my crit rate. My goal initially when I built him was to get at least 70 to 80%. We ended up getting over 90, which is amazing. And then what I did after I picked out my sets with the most crit rate for my broken set, I picked out the best piece that I could. So this one I had a triple attack roll and a crit rate. So I used my broken piece to just massively boost the stats. On our pieces down here, I did a crit damage on here to keep pushing up that crit damage. Plus he had a triple skill haste, which helps a lot. So I got lucky on that one. And then for the final one, I do like to do attack right here, but he needed a little bit more survivability. So I did some defense to get that defense up. And plus it had more crit rate. So with that, we were able to hit that 92% crit rate, tons of crit damage. This guy absolutely melts bosses. If you have him, you gotta use him. Super amazing champion. Now, an example with Errich of how good he is with doing damage. When I first unlocked this dude, we were doing the Vortex boss, but we were on the easy one, not on this hard one. Before, with my damage on the easy mode Vortex boss, I think I was pushing something like 7 mil-ish damage using the Adventurer. I replaced Errich into that team in the Adventurer's place for my damage, and I ended up pushing past 10 mil damage on it. Now on the hard mode boss, I was using him all the way up until I got Auster. For my Errich team, I would use Errich and Dane, and then I was in between using Adventurer and some other support. But my team with them, with my fire team, using Errich as my damage dealer, I could hit about 5.5 mil on the hard mode boss. I could do more if I had better support for Errich or another wild team built, but I didn't. Of course, when I unlocked Auster, I have a really good ice team, so now I'm pushing over my 6 mil every time with them. But Errich overall, he's an amazing single target damage dealer that makes him really good for boss battles, really good in your Feywilds, in your Pillar of Fire trials. I would say if you play during Season 0, he's necessary to build out if you're free to play, because he's free and does tons of damage. Absolutely need him. But to move on, and real quick, so on these damage sets, now that we have where we can build our equipment plans, because his gear is so good, I saved an equipment plan for him under his name, so I always end up putting it back on him. But what I do with that is when I build other teams, whenever Endgame came out and we were doing multiple teams, this would be my damage set gear. So after I would use my fire team with Errich, I would just move this gear over to one of my ice people, and then I would have my ice person do their team with them using that beastly gear. So the good thing with this game is when you get these gear with these amazing substat rolls like this that you're just not going to get anymore in the game, build equipment sets with them and don't be afraid to move that stuff around on your champions. So moving on, now we have Auster. I haven't had Auster very long. This guy is amazing. Example of moving stuff around is I take this crit damage one off of Errich over here. Now for Auster, I have 2 different equipment sets I use for him. The current one you see here is what I use for the Vortex boss. I use troll sets in Vortex boss when I can, because we get that extra heal off of here, and it's based off of the attack. So I mean, this thing is just absolutely amazing because it keeps your people alive a lot longer. The helmet, I went for the broken set to try to get what we can out of it. This one, I got my crit rate and my crit damage. He could possibly do good just taking the helmet off of Errich and getting a lot more attack, but then we lose that crit damage, and he definitely needs it because we're struggling in that area right now. And that's because on my substats right here, I have an attack one and attack one. I didn't have a super decent crit damage one to put right here. I need to kind of go farm one, is what it is on there. For him though, basically we just push tons of crit rate and attack. I don't have scrolls on him, which shows you how insane this guy is, because my ice team, when I plugged him in on this ice team, my ice team went from doing 4.2 mil to 4.4 million a run to doing 6.2 to 7.5 mil a run, depending on how lucky I get with my heals. I use Voresh in there to help keep people healed up too. Plus this dude has his defense aura in the City of Trials. I think if I put the scrolls on this guy and increase the damage, I could probably be pushing 9 mil to 10 mil damage on the Vortex boss. I'm not going to do that yet though, because the season's almost over and I want to save the scrolls for whatever team I decide to build first when the new season comes out, which depending on what champions I get, it's highly likely I'm going to pick a team with Auster. For my other setup that I use for him is when I go into PvP and I use him in there, is I will take the gear off of Errich and I will just drop it on him, and we get a lot more crit damage out of it. Now to show you guys my Vortex team here, right now after today's run we did 7.2 mil, ranking number 68. The hard mode boss is pretty hard to get that damage up there. I think to get breaking those 10 mil, I either need to completely scroll Errich, and I also probably need to revamp my teams, getting more legendaries in there. But that's alright. We're gonna push this harder when next season comes out and we have more dedicated teams for it. Now coming in here, I'll show you my team that I'm using right now. So I use Auster here, I use Muddy Demon, Voresh, Hexandra, and Imperial Warrior as another damage dealer. So Auster is Frost, Imperial Warrior is Frost. They team up together, giving me extra damage. I think that's another reason why I boost my damage up compared to my fire team, because I actually have that synergy. This team would be better if I could have got a third Frost damage dealer in there, but it's kind of hard because with Vortex boss you really need survivability. On the hard mode he does that decreased defense, and I don't have anything to counter it as far as buffs or removing it, so we have to use heals to remove it. Basically I group everyone up so Muddy Demon keeps everyone healed. I also put Muddy Demon in like an accuracy setup so that he's dropping that decreased attack on the boss all the time. You don't really need a like super dedicated tank. You do need someone who can tank the one hit from him, which doesn't take like a ton of HP and defense. So really, if you have like a setup like this, I recommend getting his accuracy up and then worry about his HP and defense after that. Now Voresh here, I use him in the Gambler set because he does a lot of damage with it. I would prefer to get him in a really good troll set. The problem is I don't have enough of that gear to spread across everyone to keep his attack up to where his heals stay really good. So with this setup, he actually does better with heals than with the troll set because he helps heal the rest of the team. And then I just picked an artifact that boosted his attack. And then Hexandra, I just boosted a little bit of enlightenment, survivability, get her to also do a little bit of damage soaking and keeping the team healed up. And then our Imperial Warrior, we do that troll set and just use her to fill in some of the damage. So this team works really good. Auster, I mean, he's just an amazing champion. I definitely recommend using him if you get him. I don't do a whole lot of PvP, but I can tell you whenever I do go do PvP, I do see Auster in there quite a bit. So if you build him in a good PvP set up a team around him, you're probably going to do really good with him. We'll see. I haven't played PvP in a while, so we'll see. Of course I say that, and I'm not really seeing him right now, but usually when I go through these teams, I'll see him like once or twice on these team setups. Maybe some of these people just don't have them. I did drop down a little bit lower because I haven't been playing for a while, but anyways, I would run into Auster quite a bit in here, and for Auster, it was one of those things in PvP where if I couldn't kill him instantly, he pretty much just destroyed my team. So he's a good champion to use all around PvP, PvE, wherever you need him. Which for any of you guys playing this game, you know the legendaries are completely OP compared to everything else in the game. So you can use them in any section in the game and you're going to be happy with them. Maybe in season 1 they might make some dungeons a little bit harder, making it more of a strategy when you use legendaries, but right now you just plug them in and play and you're good to go. And my last legendary we have here is Ripplicus. He's the last one that I unlocked. I haven't used him a whole lot, so I'm still playing around with the build a lot. I have a few ways I use him. For PvP, he makes a good PvP tank, or in sometimes in Feywilds, this is the setup I use. So he has a little bit of accuracy, but then I use something right here to mostly boost HP defense to help keep him alive. I do like to switch this into here for the accuracy and then also for that extra defense penalty depending on where I'm using him at. If I need the extra accuracy boost, for him I put him in gear that helps him soak up damage to help everyone else out. On these substats I'm using defense and accuracy on it to, well, mostly I need to boost that accuracy. This has accuracy substat and a skill haste because I also don't have this guy scrolled out. Like I said, saving scrolls for season 1. Now, going through his move set, he's got his passive here. When the enemy is receiving healing, he gets healed by 50%. This is really good. He has good self-sustainability on here, especially in Feywilds when you fight teams that are healing up a lot, or in PvP. I see him quite a bit in PvP. He's actually really hard to beat in PvP because of that, especially right now since you can't control your own attacks. Your healers are going to automatically do their healing. So if Ripplicus is in there, you're going to keep healing him up. And depending on how they have their enemies, how your enemies are grouped up, it makes it really hard because if you're only targeting him, he's really hard to take down. If you have it set up to where you can target other people on that team, then basically your goal is to kill everyone and save him for last. Now the A2 here unleashes this wide range slash with the knock up. And the stunned. Now whenever you guys are going through kits, what I've noticed, if you see these things in purple, it's really good for PvP, or it's really good for Feywilds when you're killing out waves, because these are always good like crowd control type things. This attack, it just works really good, especially the stun and PvP. The knock up, unable to launch basic attacks or cast skills, like you're basically just locking everyone out. He's really good for the Feywild waves and getting through those. I've been using him quite a bit in that. And then his final skill here, he has one thing I really like about the skill, one thing I don't like at all about it. So mostly for him, we're just looking at the debuffs he does. This ultimate down is absolutely amazing, super insane for PvP, really helpful in any like wave content. In this game, basically, if you can get good skill haste on people, if you can use your moves first, then you become king of that round. Ultimate down, you drop in their ultimates. PvP, that is pretty much a winning move right there. A lot of champions who have that, you start seeing them now more, especially going into the higher tier PvP. And then people basically just get them as fast as they can with the accuracy they need to make that land, and you can easily take out the enemy team because all you got to do is you take the ultimate downs on the attackers and then you wipe them out before they can do their ultimates and you're safe. Now the other part about his kit, which I kind of don't like, is he has all of these that he can do. The problem is he inflicts one random buff. My understanding is it's 3 attacks, so I'm thinking he can inflict up to 3. I'm still kind of playing around with it, like each time you get a chance, or if it's just 1 overall. But either way, I don't like the random buffs or random debuffs, because you don't know what you're gonna land, so it's hard to control for what you're wanting. Especially if you're building a dungeon team, if you need attack penalty down, well, yeah, he has it, but you don't know if it's going to be consistent because it's random, so may not go for you. If you're trying to block buffs, he has it, the same thing, it's random, you don't know if you're going to land it. I mean, just the same with all of these. It's too random to control. I don't like whenever games do extremely random like that, where you got a choice of 5 and you're landing 1. Like, it's not good. I don't like that part of the kit, but the ultimate down makes up for it, so he's still a really good champion for that. So overall, he is a good legendary champion. If you pull him, you should be excited, especially if you like PvP, because he's really good in there. If you're trying to push Feywilds and stuff, or if you're a new player, I mean, he's just going to help you out because you're going to be able to use him in all your content. And like I've said with all these legendaries, I mean, all the legendaries in this game are super OP. They're all good to have. Of course, there's going to be certain ones you want more than others. I mean, Auster, I just love how he looks. I love his kit. His dude's pretty amazing, so I was super stoked when I pulled him. Errich, I think he was a really good free one. He also looks super amazing, does good damage. But I mean, even Ripplicus, I mean, good design. Just all these champions look pretty good, so good places to use them. For you guys, when the new season comes out, what I would recommend doing is definitely save up scrolls as much as you can. Whatever legendary you get, if you're going to scroll someone, it seems like doing your damage dealer first to be able to get those damage boosts is probably a really good idea. Unless you just absolutely need someone who does control, you can do a control. But I recommend scrolling out a legendary damage dealer first, get all your extra damage because it's really good in PvE. And then after you pick out a good one like that and you build a team around them, then worry about your other ones. So that's all I have for this video. I just wanted to kind of go over those champions and how I have them built so you guys can see what I'm working with right now. As the new season starts, I'm going to wait until we figure out what pairs are going to go together. Like right now we got, Fire Radiant, Ice Poison, and Necro Lightning. Once that all rotates and we know what the teams are going to look like, I'll make some recommendations on how you can build your first teams as people get started. The first 48 hours we'll be able to reset our teams, so just keep that in mind if you guys haven't played this game, or you guys who are playing in Save Scrolls. Don't scroll out your people immediately. Play the first 48 hours, build teams, play around with it, pick who you want, and then once you figure out what teams you're going to do, go in and scroll the champions and have your set teams that you're going to use for the season, or at least get you through the beginning of the season. But that's all I have for you guys. I really appreciate your time. I'm going to leave a link to my wife's book in here. Just please, if you guys can help support it, share it with people who like things like that, we would really appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.